Hi, welcome back. We are doing something a little bit different today. No framework, no beats, just us and talking about what we actually think and no softening of things.
Yeah, hot takes, real ones. We have spent this month talking about energy, capacity, invisible labor, all of it. And Kelly and I both have opinions that didn't fully make it into the earlier episodes today. We're just going to talk about them.
So we're rotating this format in the show just because, honestly, sometimes the most useful thing that we can do is just tell everyone what we think.
Yeah.
So let's go.
Okay, so here's my hot take, okay? Sharing the mental load in a relationship is one of the hardest things a couple can actually work through, and most people are not talking honestly about how hard it is. This isn't about blame. Many men
Yeah.
genuinely have not been socialized to see. I feel like I talked about this a lot, or to manage household logistics. It's a real gap, not malice. And that is why, and I don't know where our Superwoman Diaries episode is in this, but when I was reading the text from my 15-year-old and it was a lot of apologies, it's because I really laid into him about it was probably like a hormonal flare up for him that he was a recipient of, but it was about how, like, I was like, what kind of partner are you going to be if you don't step up and do these things, and you need to be a part of our household? And I was laying into him about how did you contribute to our household today, and really really laying into him, because it bothers me sometimes that my eldest, who is a woman, right, my daughter, really picks up the slack for him sometimes, and I don't like seeing that, right? I don't like
Mm,
seeing that reflected. I want to make sure that my sons are socialized to know that, right? And like I said, that Justin and I have been married over 20 years, and it took a really long time for things to shift about, and like I said, like, now he does a laundry, schedules doctor's appointments, manages a family
yeah.
calendar, and he
Yeah.
carries the real load.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I don't like when people that advice that's like, just ask them what you need, misses the point. Because the problem isn't that you don't have a partner that helps when they're asked. The problem is that I was the only one who knew what needed asking.
Yeah. And, I think this is a very good point. And, even with Brian and him dealing with his dad and his health issues, I felt like
Mhm.
he truly started to feel what a mental load was when he's balancing work and all of that. And it did not hit
Yeah.
the same, Jess. It did not hit the same. It wasn't like, oh my God, now I know how you feel. It was just like, oh, okay. And we moved on. And so, anyway, that was just an interesting little experience I had. But, there is something underlying that's worth kind of calling out. And it's just that
Yeah.
a lot of women have had this conversation. It didn't go well, just like I said.
Yeah.
And so a lot of us kind of stopped trying to do that. And I get that, but I still think like staying silent isn't getting us anywhere either. And it doesn't make it easier. And plus, it really starts to build that like quiet resentment.
Yeah, and I think too, another thing that I've noticed, I would say the mental load is something that I really started focusing on in my practice when I started. So 9 years ago. And I think that for some of us, it can be really triggering. I'm looking through like the trauma lens, or, I'm obsessed with internal family systems right now.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of us, or, you take fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. A lot of us are fawners or caretakers. And so I think it also can become an issue, that layer of, also depending on where we're, like, our childhood and trauma and all those kind of things, like, that all plays into it
Yeah. Yeah.
when you talk about resentment and just kind of our own personal self-talk about it too.
Yeah. Great point. All right. Here's my hot take, Jess. This self-care culture has given, I feel like it's giving us women another thing to kind of feel like we're failing.
Mhm.
And what I actually think about that is like, it makes it so that it's like one more thing you have to do. I don't know if you feel that way sometimes.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
um, it's like this wellness industry that's now in all the social media and all the things you should do. It's all in our AIs, right? At least for
Yeah.
me, I'm constantly trying to do stuff and keep up. And it's just like the pressure doesn't go away.
Yeah.
And so it's this weird, different aesthetic. But it's just that whole wellness industry part, I feel like, has changed it. And, I think that self-love is something that I think it should be more personal and something that means something to you. And even with self-care, I know that we always talk about like self-care not being selfish, but
Yeah.
there are many ways that we can take care of ourselves and we shouldn't put a measuring stick against it, you know?
I think it's so funny when you see those reels of the women wearing the red light mask, walking on the treadmill, drinking a smoothie, reading a book, where it's like, oh my God, of course there's 500 more things that we have to do.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's important to recognize the distinction that wellness as a practice serves you versus wellness as your whole identity. And I am very agitated at the MAHA movement, like America Healthy Again movement. I don't like it. And it's like, it's identifying things that are not accessible to people. Like, I understand that you and I are in a different socioeconomic class than many people. And so you can't buy the supplements or have the gym memberships or do the things. And so I think one of the ways that I intake information is I look at it and I take what I want and throw away what I don't want. Right. And so what we can take from that is it's important to do self-care for us. It's not literally that it has to be a red light mask. It's not literally that it's that you have a membership to a Pilates studio, but it's that you are able to show yourself that you are worthy. And if that is, you know, taking 10 minutes in the morning and sitting outside and having a cup of coffee and just giving yourself a moment, if that is during your lunch break,
Yes.
journaling or taking a walk, it's trying to really carve out time for yourself to show that you're worthy.
Yes.
So I think that's the takeaway.
Yeah, I
It's
agree.
not literally that you do what the wellness influencer is saying. It's that you are just trying to make steps to care for yourself and
Yeah,
pour into
exactly.
yourself.
I agree. I think that's a great point.
Yeah. So this kind of ties into what I was saying, but my other hot take is that we are raising sons to be better partners than the ones we grew up watching,
Yes.
and that is some of the most important work that we do. You and I both are raising sons, and I have a daughter who, by the way, has turned 18. So I kept
Whoop,
her
whoop.
alive till she was an adult. Woo woo! I have a 33.333% chance of, getting my kids over there to adulthood. And, we are intentional about how we are raising our children. Like, we want the next generation of partnerships to look different when our boys have watched us grown up be full people and not managers of everyone's lives. Like, I love our mother, and I think our mother definitely modeled a career woman. I 100% think she
Yeah.
modeled having a career, but I think moms, the way that it was kind of modeled for us is like doing everything for everybody and not leaving anything for herself.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So like her
Yeah.
job was for the boss and home was for her kids. And I think that, she wasn't able to show us like self-care or like doing things just for herself,
Yeah.
and that she was a woman. We saw her as like a worker bee or a wife and mother.
Yeah.
And so then we had to grapple with that when we were trying to run on fumes, right? Like, we had nothing left because we were like, well, this is what a wife and mother does. She does every single thing for everybody else. And she works all the time and completes all of the tasks and all of the projects and achieves all of these things. And then we feel like crap, or we're resentful, or we yell at our partner, or we yell at our kids, or whatever it is. And so I think we are trying to model. I think it's cool that I was dropping Giovanni off at school today, and I always map. Let me tell you what, driving in Las Vegas is a Wild West here. I'm telling you, traffic is terrible. So I always have maps on with a GPS to show
Yeah.
me what's the best way to
Yes.
go. So I
Yeah.
drop Giovanni
100%.
off and I
Same in
go to the
Chicago.
gym. And I was like mapping while we were in car loop, and he was like, it was mapping to like Orange Theory, and he was like, I thought you go to Pilates plus yoga, Mom. He was like, where are you going or whatever? And I was just like, I don't know. I just felt so good that he knows that I go to the gym. I don't know. You know what I mean?
I think, yeah. And I love what you're saying, because really this idea is that we're trying to raise sons and even just people in general,
Yeah.
because it
Yeah.
may not matter.
For my
But
daughter as well, like what a woman does and what she
it's,
can expect
to
from her
your point
partner.
about kids who
Yeah.
notice. And I think that's really important. It's hard. It's hard. And sometimes we're not always
Yeah.
winning at that. And I think it's
Yeah.
important to just, we're trying to be intentional about that and to not raise our sons as like, if somebody needs
Yeah.
help, they ask you. It's being proactive. It's learning to like read a room and figure out what might be needed. Not in an anxious, nervous way, but just like a thoughtful, intentional way. And so we're definitely trying to just close that gap. And it starts with a lot of what we're trying to do here, just being authentic and not hiding the work we're doing from them so they see it.
Yeah. No, totally. And I think, and that's why we have said, right, that's why it's called invisible labor, right? Because no
Yeah.
one sees all of it. But I think that I'm not perfect. You're not perfect. We're still in progress, and we're talking about this not to make anyone feel guilty, but we're just trying to help everyone else progress so that the next generation isn't having this same 20-year-old conversation.
Yeah. Yeah. And this is what we're here for, right? Real over perfect. That's kind of
Mm-hmm.
how we are here at Chasing Brighter as we close out April. And, I have really tried to spend the month uncomfortable with saying some things, not because it wasn't true, but because it's like, it's hard to say something out loud when it's
Yeah.
something that is deep down inside. And that discomfort is the point, and that's kind of what we mean by being real as well. So these are our hot
Yeah.
takes.
Yeah, and I think for me, as I reflect on April, one, it is just celebrating the progress, like all of the work I've been putting in. And I think it's really helped me to notice where my energy is going and if I have capacity. And even though it was uncomfortable for me, one day this weekend, I spent like 5 hours sitting outside reading. And maybe if you're an overachiever, maybe this resonates with you, but like it is incredibly uncomfortable for me to not be working. Like I wanted to go, like, I already told you, I have every single episode of the podcast edited. I have the show notes. I have the reels ready.
Yeah.
And so I was like, oh, let me go. I can do one more episode, or I can go start
Just one
getting
more
ready for
thing.
the
Yeah.
May newsletter, or you know what I mean? Like, and I was like, no, I am sitting outside and I'm reading. And I'd feel uncomfortable. I'd be like, oh, I need to go check on my email. And it was like, no, you were sitting. And so anyway, so for me, it was not, again, I'm not striving for perfection, but really just like trying to notice my energy levels and engage in things that help energize and refuel me.
I love that. Yeah. And, I think it's important. I like what you said. And I think it's either writing it down or sharing with a friend or something, but really thinking about something this month that you actually want to do differently, or maybe you have done differently and you just
Yes,
want to
that's our
acknowledge it.
brighter move for you guys.
Yeah. So think about that as we close out April. This isn't just a resolution or a goal, but it's like one real thing this month that has surfaced for you. And just keep it. Keep it somewhere where you'll see it, where you can be reminded of it. And it to me, it feels like something that, is like how we all are growing and how we all are making a difference. I know one of the things I did for myself this month is I I just completely revamped my fitness routine. And so it got me a lot more re-energized and like reset and refreshed in
Yeah.
doing that. And it's not, again, it's not a resolution. It's not a goal. It's just something that I wanted to do that was different than I've been doing it before.
Yeah, I love that. Another thing you can do is have one honest conversation this month that you've been putting off, about the load, about what you need, about what needs to shift. One conversation. That's it. And if you're not ready for the conversation, write it down first. Sometimes just seeing it on paper is how you figure out what you actually want to say. And, for May, we are shifting gears completely. May is our identity and expectations month, and we are starting right in the middle of it. We're talking about the gap between the version of you that everyone expects and the one you're actually becoming. It's going to be a good one.
Yes. Yes. I can't wait to talk about those episodes. So, yeah, May is going to be great. And, we want to thank you for being here all of April. Don't forget to find us at Chasing Brighter to sign up for our newsletter, to check out our blog. Again, it's at chasingbrighter.com.
And check us out on our socials at Chasing Brighter. Take really good care of yourselves. We mean that more than ever this month, and we will see you in May.